Hello and welcome to the Green Business Podcast, where we meet exciting climate entrepreneurs. Very privileged to have Dr. Satyajit and Supriya with us today. They are co-founders of Hydrovert. Hydrovert is betting big on hydrogen, and it is building mobility solutions for hydrogen-powered vehicles. Satyajit has a doctorate. He has a PhD in fuel cell technology, and Supriya is an operations expert. So together they are the perfect team to bring hydrogen powered vehicles on Indian roads. So let's unpack more. Welcome Satyajit, welcome Supriya. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Supriya, I want to start with you. So how long were the two of you married before you started Hydrovert? And was there a point when you were like, okay, marriage is working great and I want to build more with this person?
Actually, so we have been married for 8 years now, and we have a 4-year-old son. And the other child that we have is Hydrovert, which is just 2 years old. So it took us 6 years to actually decide and confirm that, okay, this is what we want to do. We want to start something on our own and in this space.
Okay. So, Satyajit, you are an expert. You have a PhD in fuel cell technology, but you also understand batteries very well. You recently authored a paper on different battery technologies. So, what was it like to choose between batteries and hydrogen, and why did you make your bet on hydrogen?
So, basically, the first time I got exposed to hydrogen was during my PhD in 2006, which was from University of Florida, where I started working on hydrogen fuel cells and exploring this technology in a lot of depth. And in the last 10 years or so, I've spent a lot of time also on working on lithium-ion batteries and other next-generation batteries, and evaluating their technological performance as well. And since my PhD was in this topic, this topic of fuel cells was always close to heart, and I had the desire to start something in terms of product development using hydrogen fuel cells. And a lot of the comparison between the fuel cell technology and battery technology led me to believe that there are certain applications where fuel cells have a very strong advantage over batteries. These are typical applications where, if we take the example of automotive, then very long driving ranges are required or very long endurance is required. There, some characteristics of the fuel cell technology make it very, very suitable. And once this opportunity was identified, we thought we'll want to start moving in this direction. And that is how the germination of many of the products that we are building that happened. But that being said, I strongly believe that lithium-ion battery and other battery technologies which are upcoming, they are extremely good candidates for several applications. And in the future, I think all these technologies will coexist based on which application they are suitable for.
Okay, let's talk about your product now. So you are building a drivetrain, or let me call it engine for simplicity's sake. You are building an engine that converts hydrogen into electricity, right? How long did it take you to build the prototype? And I believe you have patents on this. So talk to us about your product.
So now I think we have been working on, so our first stage was to build a proof of concept prototype. That took approximately 2 years for us to build. And this first prototype is a two-wheeler which is powered by hydrogen fuel cells. And we mainly wanted to demonstrate some of the performance parameters which we thought we had envisioned in terms of the calculations that we had done, and we thought, let's build a prototype and let's see if we can actually measure those values and be close to where we think we should be. So this activity took around 2 years. We've driven this prototype for about 50 kilometers within the innovation park, INSEAL Innovation Park, where we are located. And we've done a lot of measurements on this. And now what we are doing is we are moving to the next advanced prototype, in which we are upgrading this drivetrain. We are increasing the power of the drivetrain by approximately 5 times. And we are building a two-wheeler which has much higher payload capacity, which can climb slopes, carry 2 people at the same time. And then we want to, basically while scaling up, we want to demonstrate that we can achieve the same performance as we did for this first prototype. And so that is our current objective with this one. Regarding patents, we have already filed 2 provisional patents. One is focused on the thermal management of the fuel cell, which is a very important requirement because it has a direct impact on how long and how long the fuel cell will operate and how durable it will be. And so that patent is focused on effective thermal management. And the other patent is the core focus is the safety of the hydrogen cylinder, because this is a high pressure composite hydrogen cylinder, and if it is going to be used in automotive applications, then safety and mechanical integrity of the cylinder is very important. So that patent is completely focused on modifying the design of the vehicle so that the cylinder gets maximum protection, and overall we're able to build a more robust product which is more safe.
Okay, so your current prototype is this cycle. I think this is a cycle, and this is a hydrogen cylinder, and this is your drivetrain. And you are patenting or whatever, your product is ensuring the safety. You have a safety as well as the thermal stability of the fuel cell, right?
Yes, thermal management, meaning that the fuel cell has to operate in a certain temperature range so that its performance and its durability is maximum. And we are designing a system which allows effective thermal management.
Okay, so hydrogen is typically talked about in the context of larger vehicles, right? We have hydrogen bus up and coming, I think, or maybe it is already there. So those are the only applications where it is competitive with batteries. Why do you think the same thing would hold good for a miniature application like scooter? And does your technology provide that, or do you think hydrogen, as such, the tech will improve in time, and then therefore the miniature things will also become viable?
So inherently, some of the characteristics of a hydrogen fuel cell is that it provides longer driving range, which is almost 4 times that of lithium-ion battery. And that is because it has 4 times that of the energy density of a battery. Apart from that, it is lightweight, it is compact, and it has only 3 minutes or even less refueling time. So all these characteristics are very important for any automotive application, including buses and buses and trucks, on which a lot of these big automotive companies are working right now. Right. So it's ideal for these long automotives which have to travel long distance because of its advantage of higher density. But when we did our calculations and analysis, we found that the same is applicable for smaller commercial vehicles, especially for last mile delivery applications, like these 3-wheelers and 2-wheelers which are used by Swiggy, Zomato, all these delivery guys, because they need a higher driving range as well. And they need a solution that is compact and lightweight, and that's why we think that hydrogen fuel cell is as good on smaller applications as it is for larger applications.
Okay, so for a scooter powered by hydrogen to cost as much, I'm assuming it will have to cost similar to what a battery powered vehicle will cost. so for it to cost as much, we are making assumptions, or we are optimistic about decrease in the cost of that vehicle, right? So now can you talk about the key components of a hydrogen scooter cost, and then why do you think those, or what will come down so that it will become competitive?
So the main three components of the drivetrain is a high pressure composite hydrogen cylinder. The other one is the hydrogen fuel cell, and third is a battery. Now battery is already the prices are competitive. With respect to the hydrogen fuel cell, the hydrogen fuel cell does not have any rare earth materials used in it. So the only expensive component that is used in hydrogen fuel cell is platinum, I think, which is also like 10 to 12 milligrams per kilowatt. That's it. So why the prices are more for the fuel cell right now is because the scale of manufacturing has not reached that level. So once the scale of manufacturing reaches, then the prices would come down. And if you see traditionally with any technology, even if you look at batteries or anything which is in like technology development stage, it takes certain years for the technology to improve as well. And by technology, I don't mean the hydrogen fuel cell building technology, I mean the manufacturing technology. Because right now, after the manufacturing process has improved for lithium ion batteries, the cost has come down almost 10x in the past 8 or 9 years. So once you reach the scale of manufacturing as well as the manufacturing processes improve, the prices ought to come down.
And is there something about those processes that makes you optimistic that this price will come down? How much does the price need to come down by? Maybe 5x, or I don't know how much. And what makes you optimistic about that?
Basically, there are lots of studies on this which are already published. And what they have done is that they have studied the entire requirement of raw materials, the processes required to process them into the components, and then the assembly of that has been studied in a lot of detail. Particularly, there are two reports, one from International Energy Agency and one from the Department of Energy. And both of them have mentioned that if the manufacturing scale can reach more than 500,000 units of the fuel cell per year, then the cost of the fuel cell will be approximately $50 per kilowatt. And once that type of price is reached, then fuel cell will be very competitive and very similar in cost compared to the current alternatives which are there. So there are very reliable studies on this which are predicting that such type of cost reduction will happen. And we have also reviewed those, and we are in agreement with their analysis.
Yeah, okay. And once the hydrogen becomes solar powered and it becomes lower cost, then there'll be more demand for fuel cells, and therefore that price decline can happen, right?
Yes. So this is an entire ecosystem which basically will, there are lots of parts in it. The cost reduction of all of those has to happen. And so we don't think it will be very smooth, but eventually things are moving in that direction. And so the application, the deployment of this entire technology for production of hydrogen as well as for use of hydrogen, those will evolve, and then these will become more economically.
Okay. And when you are talking to automakers, what is the sense you are getting? Are some of them making hydrogen-based scooters, and are they making the engines as well? And are some people sitting on the fence? What is your sense of the market?
So for any technology to develop, the entire ecosystem, like Satyajit pointed out, needs to be built around it. And what we have seen is that first of all, the government is very positive and optimistic about hydrogen and betting high on it with its policies. A lot of PSUs are interested and have actually made announcements that they have plans of producing green hydrogen, and they have started evaluating the prospects. A lot of these big automotive companies who manufacture trucks and buses have already started working on it and also started testing it in their campuses. Labs like NCL and SECRI and all these people are working on fuel cell technologies and how they can improve it. So, and then lastly, a lot of investors and common people are asking questions about hydrogen and are curious to know about it. So, and thanks to you, we get the chance to give our 2 cents about this ecosystem and our work in hydrogen. And I think all these things working together is a positive sign that I think there are positive prospects for hydrogen to work in the future. And that is what keeps us motivated to work in this energy domain as well.
Okay, so no, so what I meant was, are there, what about the scooter manufacturers? What about the two-wheeler manufacturers? Are some of them planning to make hydrogen-based scooters? What is your sense of that particular segment of the market?
So in two-wheeler and three-wheeler space, we know that there are two companies who probably are working who have already, like one is TVS, who has already filed some patents for two-wheelers, and there's one more company from Gujarat. I think they're setting up station there for manufacturing two-wheelers. And then there are bigger companies which also produce three-wheelers, and they are looking as hydrogen for their three-wheelers as well. So there is definitely a positive response from these auto manufacturers, and I'm sure as the market sort of matures, a lot of smaller companies will try and ride this wave like they're doing with in battery space. You see so many new two-wheeler and three-wheeler companies coming up every day, and it might happen for hydrogen as well.
Okay, and what about the fueling infrastructure? So existing infrastructure can be repurposed, like petrol infrastructure can be repurposed for hydrogen?
Yeah, the shorter answer is yes, because as I said, that the first like the main advantage of hydrogen powered vehicles is that it only takes 3 minutes or so for refueling, and which is exactly the amount of time that a petrol or a diesel car also takes. So what the big oil companies are thinking right now, like BPCL, IOCL, all of them are interested in hydrogen and producing hydrogen themselves as well, is because they can use their existing infrastructure and supply chain to use for hydrogen as well. So it's definitely a possibility that the existing infrastructure can be used for refueling hydrogen.
And just to add to that, there will be technological upgrades which will be required, meaning that to store the hydrogen, you need to have a high pressure hydrogen cylinder. For the delivery of hydrogen to the gas station, the companies will have to have separate trucks and or dedicated gas lines to get the hydrogen to reach there. So that part will require investment. But all the existing refueling stations which are there in the country, they can be repurposed in this way to also start supplying hydrogen, which can basically enable the use of hydrogen fuel cell vehicles as well.
Okay, and then let's come back to Hydrovert. So where are you currently in your journey? How much capital have you guys raised? What are the milestones for the next maybe 6 months or a year?
So basically, we have received 2 government grants. The first one is Nidhi Prayas from DST. We have also received recently the SISF Startup Seed Fund from the Department of Industry, and that is supporting all the prototype development that we are doing currently. Another funding we have received is CSR funding from Cummins for supporting some of the power electronics development which we are doing specifically for these products. And so that is entirely supporting our activities. We are located inside the NCL Innovation Park here in Pune, and we've been here since the last 9 months or so. So all our activities, all our development is happening here. And once we are able to complete the current advanced prototype which we are developing, we want to go ahead and do some on-road testing and some ARAI certification to be able to demonstrate some of the performance characteristics which we are planning to achieve. And then in approximately 6 months of time, we are looking to raise some substantially more funds to allow us to do a lot of rigorous testing on the drivetrain and to develop it further so that it can be made road ready, which I think is one of the big challenges that we will face once our advanced prototype is ready.
Lastly, Satyajit and Supriya, so this drivetrain, does it have other applications as well? So scooter you said is one. Are there other markets that you can potentially target?
So there are many other applications which can be a good fit for fuel cells. And as Supriya mentioned earlier, the basic characteristic is that they are lightweight and they can provide a sustained power for a very long duration. So other than two-wheelers and three-wheelers, which we already talked about, another great application is to use it for marine applications. So for small and medium-sized boats, which would be our target, although they can be used for bigger marine vessels also, but our target will be to use it for smaller boats for tourist applications, because there also they can provide a much longer driving range compared to a pure battery operated boat. And in addition to this, fuel cell technology is also great for stationary power generation applications. So it is a direct replacement for, you can say, a diesel generator, except that it doesn't produce any of the smoke or the emissions or the pollutants. And it also has very, very silent operation. So normally when you have a reasonably sized diesel generator, you have to be very careful about where it is placed. It has to be placed far away from the building. Its smoke has to be taken care of and so on. But when it comes to a fuel cell, it can perform the same function while having much less restrictions in terms of where it can be placed. And one of the applications we are looking at is to use this to actually power EV charging stations. Because that can, the fuel cells can be set up at any location with relative simplicity, and they can be upgraded by simply enlarging the size of the hydrogen tank, which directly relates to the amount of energy that you're storing. And what we feel is that setting up such stations will be much more convenient compared to upgrading the entire electricity distribution network within the city, which requires either digging of the roads or setting up overhead transmission lines within the city. So we feel that this could also be a good application which we plan to focus on.
Yeah, that's lovely. So you have not just scooter, these are alternate applications in marine and in stationary storage as well.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I think that would be all. Thank you so much, Satyajit and Supriya, for your time, and look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for this opportunity, and great to interact with you.